I was joking, kind of not joking, with Jessica this week, and I feel like I can say this today because I'm looking around, and I said, every week I say, if you're visiting with us, we'd like you to try us out for 3 consecutive weeks. And there's some who are not visiting with us that I would like to put out a challenge and say, try us out for 3 consecutive weeks. And so I say that because we're going to be talking about such a thing today, actually. As you know, we're in our Next Steps 5 Growth Paths series. So we're talking about the 5 different growth paths that we have kind of worked through here at Hillside, that we believe that if you are taking your next spiritual step in each one of these paths, as well as everyone else, that will help us grow in our relationship with God. And as we grow in our relationship with God, it will help us grow closer together as a congregation as well. So the 5 pathways we have, growth paths, are humility. We talked about humility, basically boiled down to God is God and we're not. And so we need to just humble ourselves before Him. We need to realize how much we need Him. And we need to not think too much of ourselves. Reflection, we talked about last week. And, I encourage you to read through Psalm 139. And it's a great psalm of just David basically talking about the awesomeness of God. And then at the end, if you've been in church for quite a while, you'll be familiar with the part of search me and know my ways. And I encourage you to read through that as part of a reflection time. And it's been really cool. In fact, this morning, having someone actually come up to me and say, hey, I did that. And it was actually pretty powerful. It actually had an impact so much that I shared it with somebody else to say, hey, I think you should do this. So if you haven't tried this yet, I want to encourage you again. Read the 139th Psalm with the idea of you will also pause and listen. I mean, it's funny. I don't think it's just a Christian thing, but it tends to be a Christian thing where we say one thing and we don't do it, right? Like, I can say, hey, now read the 139th Psalm, and you're reading it, and it says, search me and know me, and basically let me know if there's anything in me that needs to change. And a lot of times what we do is we're like, okay, yeah, God, search me, know me, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm done with that, and we move on, and we haven't even given God any time to respond. Right? It's kind of like, in some of our songs, and I'm not saying you have to do everything that's in the song, but, I throw up my hands, and we're singing the words, I throw up my hands, with our hands squarely tucked on our sides, right? So sometimes in church we can talk about one thing and we do something else. I want to encourage you, read the 139th Psalm, but actually do what you read. I was doing that this week, and it was amazing. And I don't know why. Scripture is always this way, though. I mean, I'm reading the same psalm, and different parts are jumping out at me each time I read it. And it hasn't lost any impact whatsoever. And as I take the time to really just, okay, I'm going to quiet my heart now, God, I'll tell you what, there were some brutal times, but there were some awesome times as well. And so I want to encourage you to do that. So we were talking about reflection, and this week we're going to be talking about community. And, community is something that the need for it is built in us. It's part of who we are. It's the way we've been created, that we need other people in our lives. I mean, go back to Genesis, and God creates Adam and says, oh, it's not good for man to be alone, right? He needs community. He needs others. I've created man in my image, in our image, and God himself with the Trinity kind of has his own community, right? And so we have that innate desire and need for community, each and every one of us. And I believe we really long for it. And I think many of the TV shows that are very popular, I think, tend to be popular because they're kind of showing us people living in a community that we wish we would have. You know, back, this is dating me now, back when Friends and Seinfeld were the shows, I think the whole reason why they were so popular is because people were looking at them and going, I wish I had a friend group like that. Amy and I have been part of multiple small groups through our time together. And, you know, I'll be honest, we've been in some really awesome ones. We've been in some that were like, you know what, this just might not be a fit. But I'll tell you, every time we keep diving in and we find connections with people, and it's just an awesome, awesome thing to know that there are other people that you can reach out to. There's other people who are getting to know you. One thing that's nice, especially for a pastor with a small group, you can eventually, after a while, peel back the pastor layers of the onion, and people can just know you for you. And so that's a lot of fun as well. But community is, it is just actually biological in each and every one of us. In fact, I read an article from the Mayo Clinic this week that said, and they were referring to friendship, but friendship/community is so vital to our emotional health, to our physical health. And it just went on to list different things. It can lower blood pressure. It can lower anxiety. It provides an avenue that if you go through any kind of trauma in your life, it gives you people that will be there to care for you and support you. Even if for no other reason, this should be a reason that you want to be part of community. And that is because those who are in some form of community live longer than those who are not. Now, it makes sense, right? If you think about it, that just makes sense. I mean, one of the worst punishments you can give in prison is solitary confinement. Totally isolated person, get them away and have no contact with anybody. That is horrible to us as humans. To not have any interaction, to not have any connection with anyone is just brutal. And so I want to talk about this a little bit today, the need for community. Acts chapter 2, verses 42 through 47. And this is like early church, glory days. Things are really happening. They're growing. I would, if I could go back in time, this would be a time I would love to go back and just observe and just see God moving in such amazing ways. So the church, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship/community, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their numbers daily those who were being saved. Now I want to go back and I want to just kind of walk through this a little bit and just point out the different aspects of community and then talk about how does this practically work out for us. So they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship. Okay, I'm not going to get stuck on they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching. I'm not going to say, hey, you need to totally pay attention to what I have to say because it's so important you need to hear it, right? It's not what I say, it's what God says through me and that sort of thing. But I will say this, unlike today's culture, in order to be able to hear the apostles' teaching, they had to leave the house. They had to go where other people were. They had to gather together. It wasn't like today where, folks online watching, no offense, but we can be in total isolation and still, quote unquote, go to church. That's not really how church was designed. And so even from the beginning, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching. They had to go and they gathered. And to fellowship, to community. This word fellowship means more than just showing up, filling a seat, sitting through the entire service, and leaving. Growing up, I had 2 older brothers, big into sports. Any free time we had, we were out in the backyard playing something, whether it was football, wiffle ball, making up games. We created our own golf course between 3 different yards. We just had a ton of fun doing athletic-y kind of stuff, right? Fast forward, I would have never thought. Fast forward, now I'm married and I have 2 girls, and I'm looking up, hey, I wonder what play or what musical is coming to Cedar Rapids. If I would go back to 13-year-old Dave and say, guess what? You are going to look forward to going to musicals and plays, I would have laughed at my older self and said, no way, dude, not going to happen, right? I'm not going to go do that. But now, oh my goodness, I love it. In fact, we're going to go see Clue here soon, and over Thanksgiving, we're going to see Wizard of Oz. I've been to so many different musicals with my girls that they've been in or just going to watch. It's amazing to me. But you know what? I've gone, I've sat in the seat, I've watched, and I've been entertained, and it's been a ton of fun, and not once would I have told you I had great fellowship at that musical. Right? I mean, you don't think, oh, that was a great fellowship moment. That was a great community time. No, because what happened? We went, we sat, we watched, and then when it was over, we were like, oh, now we got to fight the crowd to get out and get to the car, right? It's just an event. So church isn't meant to be you come, you sit, you listen, you leave. This is the body of Christ coming together. This is us gathering together. They gathered together, they listened to the teaching, but they had fellowship. There was connection. There was community. They would talk to each other. They would share with each other. They would spend time with each other. Now, I've mentioned it before to where all the extroverts have been saying, I really miss the time during the service where we shake hands and greet each other and all that. And all the introverts are saying, don't you dare bring that back. That was the worst time of the service. I hated it. Right? And I think I've shared the last church we were at, it wasn't while we were there, but they used to have a half hour of greeting in the middle of their service. So, yeah, all the introverts are like, ah, right? But that's also when people went and got coffee and donuts and that sort of thing. But there is something about church that's supposed to be community, supposed to be connecting. So let's move on. Teaching and to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe in the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. Sorry if I have not awed you with any of that. All right. All the believers were together and had everything in common. All the believers were together and had everything in common. You can't say we're together and have everything in common unless you are getting to know the people that you are fellowshipping with. There's something deeper. It's more than just an attendance that God is after. If your whole church community fellowship time, you're just putting on Sunday morning service, if you come and you sit and then you leave, you are missing out on something so dynamic. You're missing out on what God has created you for. And I will tell you this. You are causing us as a community to miss out on your personality and your gifts and your talents. So they had everything in common. They shared ideas. They shared thoughts. Now, does this mean they agreed on everything? No. In fact, if you continue reading in Acts, you will find out, wow, they had all sorts of debates and discussions. But when it came down to the core, all the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Now, how do you really know who has need unless you've gotten to know people? You know, it's real easy for us to want to do something. And so in Western culture, we pull out our checkbook and we write a check and we send it into an organization or whatever, and I helped. And that is very helpful. Don't get me wrong. But I'll tell you what, if you want community fellowship impact, it's also getting together, finding out what are needs in the community within the church and helping. A few weeks ago, we had a couple who they needed help moving some property from storage to their next living place. I simply put out a request to a couple folks and said, hey, I wonder if you guys could help them out. That would be fantastic. Next thing I know, that afternoon, I get a text, hey, we're done. It was great, easy. That's community. There's a need, let's meet it. But we only know if there's a need, one, if we're connected, and two, if we share. If we share the needs we have. If we come in every Sunday and we're like, everything's fine. Yeah, nothing going on in my life, right? Then everyone's going to be like, okay, they have a weird smile. But also, oh, man, you know what people are going to be thinking? I wish my life was like theirs because they're always happy. They got it all together. And inside, you're dying and wishing, man, I wish my life was like theirs. If we would all just open up and be honest with each other and say, look, this is what I'm dealing with this week. Hey, this is a concern I have. Hey, this is a major prayer concern. Man, that's when community starts to build. I am a Penn State fan. That is well known. There are so many Penn State fans out there, just like there's so many Iowa fans and so many Iowa State fans and maybe a few Notre Dame fans. Right? I don't have community with every Penn State fan. I have connection with a handful of Penn State fans. Just because I cheer for the same team, just because I like the same school as someone else, doesn't mean that I have community with them. It's only those that I actually know and connect with and have conversations with that I would say I have community or connection with. Folks, you can come and like the same church. You can like the same God. You can cheer for the same God. But if you are not truly connecting with other people around here, you're not actually in community. You're just a fan, just like the rest of the group. And we need to be more than fans. We need to be vulnerable. We need to be open. And as we talk next week, we also need to be generous. But the folks that helped those people move, they didn't have to. No one made them. But they were generous with their time and with their vehicles. And said, you know what? I can give of my time and my resources to help them because they're in need. And we only can do that when we know what the needs are and we're generous and willing to help meet those needs as well. Every day they continue to meet together in the temple courts. All right, so the church is going to be open 7 days a week. No, just joking. Different culture, but it does point to something. You know, I said earlier, okay, if you're a regular attender, we want to encourage you to give us a 3-week test drive, right? Our culture is that we're very sporadic, we're very busy, and that sort of thing. But there's something about the amount of time you spend together that helps develop community as well. Growing up, I had a best friend in high school, nicknamed Rodent, real name Gary, and I just remember at his wedding, I was his best man, so for the toast, I toasted and said, hopefully soon there will be the pitter-patter of little rodents running around your house soon. And, those who knew his nickname got it. Other people were like, that's weird. Gary and I were inseparable through high school. Gary lived with us for a while. People thought we were twins. I'm like, we're not even related. Gary and I both liked the same girl in high school. That got a little awkward. But man, we could play games. We just knew what each other were thinking. We could just look at each other, boom. And I knew what he was thinking. He knew what I was thinking. I still say Gary's my best friend. It's been forever since I've talked to him or sent him a text. We just, as we got older, we went our different ways. My mom still actually, around Christmas time, will get a call from Gary, get the Christmas card and that sort of thing. So I kind of keep in contact with him that way. A few years back, we were visiting my brother for, I think it was Thanksgiving or Christmas, one of those. And Gary was in town as well. And so we showed up and we got to spend an afternoon. And, it was fun. It was great. But would I say that I really know Gary anymore? No, I know high school Gary. I know college Gary. But I really don't know Gary the dad, Gary the husband, because I'm not spending time with him anymore. Time helps us to truly build community. If you want community with someone, with a group of people, you're going to have to spend time. It can't happen just one day out of a year or whatever. They broke bread in their homes, and they ate together with glad and sincere hearts. So what do we learn from this? The whole breaking bread, in some parts of Scripture, that can mean communion, that they had communion together. Other times, breaking bread means they broke bread and they ate, that they had a meal. That was one of Jay's favorite expressions when he was here. Let's get together and break bread together. And, he liked to break bread at Buffalo Wild Wings, which has no bread. But that was one of his favorite spots for us to break bread together. But they broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts. They spent time together outside of church. See, the early church is giving us a great example of what real community is about. And what the early church looks like and what our modern day church looks like. Man, we're really starting to shift. Now, I know there's always going to be cultural changes and things like that. But when it comes to relationships, when it comes to true community, I think there are some things that really hold through time. And so they spent time together outside of just the church. And they ate together with glad and sincere hearts. Sorry, I forgot to delete the 47. That's verse 47. Praising God and enjoying favor. Listen to this. Praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. Community is built into us. The need for it is built into us. And our culture says, be active, get busy, entertain yourself, fill the calendar. I would say some of that calendar needs to be for intentional connecting with others. If not just spiritually, which is more important, but even physically. I mean, for the Mayo Clinic to go, hey, you know what? We really ought to write this article to tell people how important it is that they have connections and they have strong friendships. And part of the article said, look, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. You can't have a gazillion friends. You need to have a close knit of friends. You need to have that small group that you can really connect with, you can really open up with, you can really be yourself. You can take off every mask you have and just say, this is me. And you know those people are still going to love you. Community is so vital. And I love what it's saying. Enjoying the favor of all the people. Imagine if we really lived out community. If we really lived out, we're connecting with each other as a congregation, or we've got a group of people that I connect with, other believers. I would say, yes, have close friends that aren't believers. We need to have those friendships as well. But having a connection of those that can encourage us and inspire us and keep us accountable, man, our faith will grow. Our connection with God will grow. As the community sees us reaching out and meeting each other's needs and then reaching out to the community and reaching some of our neighbors' needs and helping in that way, why wouldn't we have favor with them? If we were really living out the life that God designed us to have and live, people are going to look at us here at Hillside Community and go, I want that. Man, they've got some connections. They've got friends. They know each other. They love each other. They care for each other. They care for others. So if all you have for community is walk in and walk out, I want to encourage you, get more. Find a connection. Find a group. We have groups that meet on Sunday morning, and those are great. I would say maybe in that group you find another subgroup that you can really connect with during the week as well. But man, find a group that you can really be honest and sincere and genuine with. If you're looking for a group, email us. We have groups at crhillside.com, and we'd love to try to get you connected. If there's not a group that doesn't fit, we would love to help you start one. If you've been involved in a group and it's no longer meeting, maybe it's time to give some of them a call and say, hey, let's connect. We need to start getting together again. Some of you may have been part of a group, and some of those folks don't attend here anymore. They might be attending somewhere else. If you can't find a group here within this group, then call some of them and say, hey, can we get together on a Thursday night, a Tuesday night, whatever it is. If you've got friends somewhere, other Christian friends that aren't in a group, that aren't in community somewhere, find community. I love Hillside Community Church. But my passion as a pastor isn't to make sure everyone comes here. My passion is that people get connected with God and begin to live the life that God has created them to live, to find forgiveness and hope in Jesus Christ. If another church is thriving, fantastic. I'm not going to boo-hoo and cry or start looking for flaws so I can say, well, yeah, but, they watered down the gospel. That's all the reason they're... I'm not going to do any of that. So I'm not going to be concerned if you say, hey, I'm here on Sunday morning, but my community group is a part of a group that isn't necessarily connected to Hillside. You don't have to hide that from me. Our food pantry has a good number of people who no longer attend Hillside. I don't say, oh, sorry, no, if you're not a part of Hillside, no, we don't want you to help people. But I will say this. If you don't have community, if you don't have connection, begin to pray and ask God to help you find that connection. I would guess if you don't have a small group of friends that you can really count on and reach out to, if you don't have that group that knows you for who you really are, I bet you why I was giving this little talk, you were getting pretty uncomfortable. Maybe squirming a little bit. Might have been getting a little sad, heartbroken. Maybe a little angry, because maybe you've tried it in the past and it didn't work out. But all those emotions are just pointing to how much you need it. If you're part of a group that meets together and you have fun together and you laugh together and you have all this great time, but you haven't really gone much below the surface yet, can I encourage you to be the one to take the step of faith and go a little bit deeper? Really develop community, real deep community. It's as we take these steps in community that we can truly grow in our faith, to truly live the life God has designed us to live, and to truly find that joy, that peace, patience, kindness. Some of us might be saying, oh man, I've been trying this Christian thing, it just doesn't seem to be working out. Well, part of it might be because you're really not trying this Christian thing. You've just been playing around the edges. Dive in deep. Find some community. Let us help you. But man, why don't you, as I described this group of people, wouldn't you want to be a part of a group like that? Wouldn't you want to be in a group that just loves you no matter what? You know, we have one guy that I talked with that said that's one of the reasons he kept coming here. Because from the moment he walked in, no one seemed to judge, nothing. They were just like, oh, yeah, welcome. And really got to know him, really got to know his name, find out what he's up to. When he missed a couple weeks, people noticed and reached out to him. Or when he came back, he's like, hey, we missed you. And like, wow, you noticed? Yeah. Community. Man, it's a little taste of heaven on earth when you're in real community. And so I want to encourage you. I want to challenge you to say, hey, it's time. If you've been sitting on the sidelines, it's time. It's time to jump in. Contact us at the church if you need help. Reach out to others. I mean, we're all adults. We can try to figure this out. I know of one individual who's in a group that guys from different church, they just get together and say, hey, what did you learn this week at church? And they just share. They've got community. Let's find it. Let's grow. let's get to the point where, man, we are living the life that the church of the second chapter of Acts was living. Let's go ahead and pray. God, you've designed us. You've created us with this need for others in our lives. God, right now I just pray for those who aren't connected to a group. God, I just pray that you wouldn't let go. That they would just be reminded all throughout this week that they need to find some community. They need to get connected. And God, I pray that you help us here, not just as church staff, but as a church, to help those who are looking for community to be able to find it, to get connected, to either start new groups, open groups, whatever it might be, God. And God, I just pray that these communities would be deep. And God, that we would just, in these communities, love and glorify you and love each other. In your name we pray. Amen.